Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Good morning. So Rakesh, Shiva, and Pujita, kada? All three. And I think Lahari is down here. I don't know. Let's see. So to tell about the last class, we were on unit 1 only. We are still on unit 1. We have just finished diversity. And we have finished some terms related to what is called diversity, nomenclature, classification. Any doubts on that? Are you clear on all those particular things? So the objective of today's class is, I got to teach you on binomial nomenclature, one thing. Then we also learn on taxonomical hierarchy. Then we learn on taxonomical categories. 3 things. Every day what we are doing is, we are going to learn only a few things. But we are learning the few things in such a way that what happens is, you don't have to read it again. So we are going with and the plan is, within as soon as it has been taught, you're going to check on your sort of books, and anything, if you've got any doubts, ask it directly. That's more easier. Let's see. I'll just try using not the PowerPoint because it's a simple topic. That's why I'm just teaching it on the board. If there are a lot of other things, maybe we'll go on PowerPoint. That way it is. So, first important thing is, we are dealing with what is called as binomial nomenclature. So binomial nomenclature is a very important sort of a concept, primarily with relation to classification. And the scientist who is credited for binomial nomenclature is Linnaeus. Carolus von Linnaeus is the first important scientist associated with binomial nomenclature. So associated with binomial nomenclature, you need to know what is a cluster of the words. I'm teaching you by a technique which is called as cluster analysis. That is, we'll cluster all the words, then we'll analyze. Are you understanding that? That's more easier. So when you take Carolus Linnaeus, primarily what happens is, what is binomial nomenclature? Next important thing is, it is a formal method. Remember, this is very, very important. It is a formal method of classification, not an informal method. It's a formal method. It's a formal method. Is a very, very important thing. This they can ask you, what is an informal? Is using of vernacular names. Informal is using of vernacular names, whereas the formal method is primarily you're using the scientific name. And basically what happens is, when you take binomial nomenclature, how many formats it has got? Any particular classification has 2 formats. Remember, it has got 2 formats. You got a genera and a species. Remember that. So what happens is, we have primarily, when you take, you have a genera, and again you have a species. So it is a 2 format, or you can also say it is a 2-word method of classification. It's a 2-word method of classification. Normally you use only 2-word method of classification. You don't use a 3-word method of classification. Normal is a 2-word method of classification. So the binomial nomenclature, when you take the binomial nomenclature, what happens is, it primarily follows a particular sort of a code. It follows a particular sort of a code. Now, what does a code mean? A code means primarily regulations and recommendations. When you say a code, when I say code, it means regulations. There are some basic principles. There are some regulations, and it also means there are some recommendations. So both the regulations and recommendations, what are they primarily called as? They are basically called, they are most importantly, they are called the code. So you should know what is meant by a code in the case of the binomial nomenclature, and you should know it's a formal method, and primarily it has got how many formats? It's got two important formats. So it follows some basic principles of rules and regulations which are called as codes. Now, these particular codes, primarily, these are given by the ICBN. These codes are given by International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. So similarly, you got International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Similarly, you got International Code for Virological Nomenclature. Remember that. You got the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Now, this particular code was primarily given firstly in 1961. So sometimes they may ask the year. They may basically ask the year. So you got to know these recommendations are based on a sort of a generalized body which is called as International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, not biological nomenclature. Remember, it is botanical nomenclature. That means all the species of plants, all what you consider under kingdom Plantae, all what you consider under kingdom Plantae, all the names are primarily, they follow the sort of a binomial nomenclature system of Carolus Linnaeus. So here, what is very, very important is always remember the first name starts, the first name primarily, what happens is it starts with the sort of a capital letter. The genera, remember, if you take the genus always starts with a capital letter. The first name starts with a genus, and the second name starts with a small letter. So supposing you're writing the species, remember it is with a small letter. So there are some specific sort of a rules. There are some specific sort of a rules like what do you understand primarily by a genera and a species? Very, very common you got to primarily understand is why do we always study primarily Mangifera indica? The reason why we study Mangifera indica is, anybody? Why is it given in all the books Mangifera indica and given as LINN? This is a national fruit. Mango is a national fruit. So this is a national fruit. What is the national flower? Lotus. What is the name? Lotus. What is the name of the national flower? Nelembo. It's called Nelembo. And again, primarily when you take the national, you got, what is the national tree? It's called banyan tree. That is Ficus bengalensis. So you need to primarily know, see, supposing you take Mangifera indica, M starts, this is primarily the sort of a genera, and genus part starts with a small letter. They should be separately underlined, and the LINN should not be underlined. LINN is an abbreviation for the sort of a author, the person who first discovered it. So this is primarily, this word, primarily, when you take this particular word, what you're understanding is, it is an abbreviation. It is abbreviated, or you will say it is annotated. Annotated with only a sort of a capital. With only a capital. So remember, there is no comma, and remember there is no underlining. There is no comma, no underlining. So these are the three important things about the author. Author's name should always follow the sort of a species. Author's name should always follow the sort of a species. And primarily what happens is it need not be underlined. It need not be underlined. So supposing you're writing the name, sometimes what happens is we also use it like if it is printed, it is used in slant italics. Slant italics. It is used in a slant font. The font is slant. It is used in a slant font. Now the name here, when I say Linnaeus L, when you write Linnaeus, Linnaeus is primarily a Roman capital. You use what is called a Roman capital. You use a Roman capital for that particular word. Is called a Roman capital. So primarily what happens is, now always when you're writing the name, all names primarily in binomial nomenclature are, remember, they are all Latinized. Why are they Latinized? Because Latin is a dead language. It is a dead language. You can't change it. It is Latinized or it is a dead language, and irrespective of the origin. Supposing you take Mangifera indica. If you take Mangifera indica, indica is primarily India, isn't it? So this is very, very important that it is irrespective of the origin. It is irrespective of the origin. So you got Azadirachta indica, primarily an Indian plant. But irrespective of that, Azadirachta indica is a sort of a Latinized name. Are you understanding? Basically, it is a Latinized name. So irrespective of the origin, it is basically what is the universal language which is primarily used in binomial nomenclature is a Latin. You use primarily Latin. Sometimes, very rarely, you use Greek. You use primarily Greek and Latin because basically what happens is they are standard. You can't change it. The reason is it does not have a gender. And the reason is primarily what happens is universally accepted. So supposing there are some sort of a plants which are controversial. Think that you have found a plant which is very, very controversial. Then what happens is every year the people from the ICBN will be meeting. And they'll check on the rules, they'll check on the regulations, and they'll modify anything if needed. Modify if needed, not modify everything. Modify everything. So there is a standard procedure which goes on, which is primarily called the binomial nomenclature. Now, in the binomial nomenclature, what is very, very important for you to understand is, what does it follow? It follows a very important thing, which is called as the law of priority. It follows the law of priority. What is the meaning of the term law of priority? The first name or the old name is valid. Remember, the first name, remember, what happens is we have the first name or the old name is valid. That is, it takes always precedence. Precedence. Ante always the first name follows, and that is only taken as priority. First time, always 99.9% is only the first name. Unless under very rare circumstances, only the name will change. Very, very rare. So always, whenever you have, though we have rice, 500 varieties of rice, always rice is Orisa. Always wheat is Triticum. Remember that. Always wheat is Triticum. Always maize is called as Zea maize. ZEA. So you need to remember all the examples, like if you take Brassica campestris. Brassica campestris, you got to remember all the names which are there in your sort of a textbook, in your syllabus. You take Fabaceae, it's represented by Pisum sativum. You take Solanaceae, it is represented by Solanum nigrum. You take Liliaceae, it is represented by Allium cepa. So there are some representative sort of a genera. You got to remember all the genera and the species. So you understand primarily how we have been going about. We have been going about primarily saying that we are talking about, look here, we are talking about biological nomenclature. That's point number 1. And point number 2, it was discovered by Linnaeus. And 3, it had got 3 formats. And formats is also called as 4. It's also called as a word. 4, you understand, it is a formal method of primarily classification. And 5th one, it follows a particular sort of a code. And when you say code, it means you're dealing with relation to regulations and recommendations. And the regulations and the recommendations deal with ICBN. And ICBN was recognized in 1981. And always what happens is, whenever you're dealing with relation to this, you are going to write the following is the sort of an order. Whenever you write the genus, it is in capitals. Whenever you're writing the sort of a species, the species is in the form of a small letter. And very, very important is the name of the author is annotated, abbreviated in a Roman capital. And there are no commas or no underlining of the name or primarily of the name of the author. Remember, the name of the author is never underlined. And basically, supposing you are printing you print it in a sort of a slant font, and all you will say it is in italics, and you will say it is Latinized. Primarily, it is Latinized. And the names are put irrespective of the sort of an origin, And again, we understand the old name takes precedence. The old name takes precedence, and that is called the law of priority. So we got about some 20 objectives which can primarily come from this particular sort of thing related to binomial nomenclature. I hope you're understanding how you're going to catch which sort of a question is going to come. And as I told you, primarily what happens is you need to remember some very important things, like you need to remember what is the national fruit, what is the national flower, what is the national tree. These are some basic things, simple, very, very simple things. If you're students of science, taxonomy is a must. And you should remember all the names of all the examples which are present in Fabaceae. Fabaceae, primarily all the examples of those which are present in Solanaceae, and also examples of all the botanical names which are present primarily in Liliaceae. Including the sort of a representative, like if you remember the page on semi-technical description of a plant, you got Brassica campestris, which belongs to family Cruciferae. You need to know this. I mean, and when you're writing it, always when you write, what happens is you need to underline the genus and the species. So any doubts here on Brassica with relation to binomial nomenclature? Beyond this, you don't have to know anything at all. This is a max things primarily. And the original specimen which you study in primarily in binomial nomenclature. Supposing you're trying to name a newly discovered rice plant. And you will refer this to another sort of original rice plant. And the original rice plant which was first discovered is primarily called as type specimen. You got something called as type specimen. So what do you mean by type specimen? When you say type specimen, we are talking about the original species. The original species is called the type specimen. With reference to this only, primarily what happens is you will be studying binomial nomenclature. So these are some basic norms about how you go about with relation to binomial nomenclature. So how did he say that we are going to primarily move? How do we go to the next slide? Is second one here? Do I touch this? Which one? Irrespective of origin. See, supposing you have Mangifera indica. Irrespective of its origin, wherever mango is present, if mango is even present in some place in the world, it's also called as Mangifera indica. Irrespective of the origin. That is, the origin is not the origin of the country is not taken into consideration. The origin of the place is not taken into consideration. The Latin name and again recommendations of the ICBN is taken into consideration. So I think primarily I should be touching here, isn't it? After this. Okay, not bad. I think this is also easy than PowerPoint. No, this is more easy, I think. Which is easy for you? Both are okay. Both are okay. Fine. Okay. Now what happens is we go into something else, because I'm trying to help you out with relation. We don't miss a point and we don't come to the same point again. That's the most important thing. Next, we are going into something called as taxonomical hierarchy. We are going into taxonomical hierarchy. So when you go into taxonomical hierarchy, what does it primarily mean? When you say taxonomical hierarchy, it relates to arrangement. It refers to an arrangement. We are talking about arrangement of organisms. When you say arrangement primarily, what does it mean? Arrangement where in a definite sequence, the words in an objective bit in a definite sequence. The arrangement in a definite sequence. Follow this later on. You see a bookman here. Concentrate out. Follow this later on. You see afterward. Then it's more easier because we have to get the idea across. It is an arrangement or it's a definite sequence of organisms. It's a definite sequence of organisms which is put in a hierarchy, in a hierarchical steps. In a hierarchy of steps. See, hierarchy of steps is like a ladder. It is put in a particular sequence. When you say hierarchy, we are talking about a sequence. Remember that. Hierarchy refers to a definite sort of a sequence. We are putting it in a definite sequence of steps, and always in an ascending order. Always in an ascending order. That is, supposing you have the species to the kingdom. Remember, You got the kingdom, you got the division, you got the class, order, family, genus, and then you got the species. So always it is in ascending order. When you talk about hierarchy, always in ascending order. The lowest one is what is called the species. And the highest one is what is called the sort of a kingdom. The highest one is what is called the sort of a kingdom. We are putting it in a particular sort of an order. So what happens is, what are these orders? They are all primarily, remember, they are broad, taxonomical, categories. Kingdom is a broad category. Like if you take primary, you take Plantae. It's a very broad category. Animalia is a broad category. So within that broad category, supposing you think you have kingdom. Within the kingdom, you got divisions. You got angiosperms, and again you got gymnosperms. And within them, you got different sort of classes. Within the classes, again, you got different sort of orders. And within the orders, you got each order, you got different sort of families. And within the families, what happens is you got genera and then you got the species. So remember, the broadest taxonomical order, what happens is it is inclusive. What is the meaning of inclusive? Within that, all other things are present. Are you understanding? Like you got the cosmos. Within the cosmos, you got the planets. And within the planets, you got Earth. Within the Earth, you got different sort of countries. So within the different sort of countries, you got the different sort of states. So like that, what happens is it is primarily, when you take taxonomical characters, are very, very broad, and basically they are inclusive. So when you take these inclusiveness, what happens is, now this taxonomical order in this, what happens is the number of the common characters decreases as we move from the bottom to the top. As we move from the bottom to the top, the number of common characters. The number of common characters decreases. So when you say common characters, what happens is it keeps on decreasing. As we move from here, it becomes negative. That is, supposing you take family Solanaceae. In Solanaceae, you got tomato, chili, and brinjal. Characters are similar. You can know about that. But when you go to kingdom Plantae and you take one tomato, chili, and brinjal, they won't match. Common characters keep on decreasing. Kingdom Plantae has got different characters. But when you come down, what happens is more specific, and specific. As you go up and up, what happens is it is non-specific. It is very, very generalized. So here what happens is, when you take the lower groups, whenever you're taking the lower groups, like if you take the case of, say, Fabaceae, in lower groups, in Fabaceae, what happens is you got Pisum sativum, you got Arachis hypogaea, you got Crotalaria junctia. All these are primarily pulses. Red gram is called as Kajanus kajan. Remember, black gram is called as Vigna mungo or Fasciolus mungo. Then you got green gram. So black gram, green gram, and again when you take red gram, or even if you take primarily groundnut, what is common between them? They are all primarily belonging to the lower categories. They belong to the family Fabaceae. Like I told you in the last class, when you take family Fabaceae, what are the most important features? Root nodules, pulvinate leaf base, bipinnate compound leaf. You got bipinnate compound leaf. You got papilionaceous corolla. You got vexillary estivation. Fruit is a legume. That's all. You got to only remember these 6. Supposing I say family Liliaceae, I say Allium cepa, onion, Allium sativum, which is garlic, and I say Lilium. I'm saying these. So what are the basic characters of Liliaceae? When you take Liliaceae, the stem is a bulb. The stem is a basically modified underground. It's called a bulb. And the single stem which comes out is called a it's called a scape. S-C-A-P, scape. How are the flowers? The flowers are trimerous. Trimerous means we take calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, they are all made up of 3 parts. And calyx and corolla are non-distinguishable. It's called a perianth. So it is trimerous, it is perianth. Individual units of a perianth are called as tepals. Tepals. And again, when you take the sort of an anthus, how are the anthus? They are in 3. Trimerous. Trimerous. How is the gynoecium? Tricarpellary. Are you understanding? So when you're talking about these particular characters, we are talking about lower groups. When you take lower groups, in lower groups also in taxonomical characters, it will show more of characters. There will be more of characters in the lower groups. So as we go higher, what happens is that all the characters will keep on decreasing. It will be more general. Here, when you go to the kingdom will be more general in character. Whereas the species will be more specific in their character. Will be more specific in their character. Remember, species is specific and kingdom is general. So you got to remember this. You should not make mistakes when in an objective bit. In an objective bit, when they ask you like this, there'll be a lot of mistakes which you primarily make. Like a simple thing is like, go to the next one. Okay. Supposing we go on to kingdom Plantae. Think we are going into kingdom Plantae. The top, we have got the kingdom Plantae. So in the kingdom Plantae, we are going into division Angiospermae. So under division Angiospermae, primarily what happens is you got 2 important classes. You got class Dicotyledonei. And again, you got another class which is called as class Monocotyledonei. I hope all of you know this. It's very easy. It's not tough. It's not at all tough. It's very, very easy. You got Dicotyledonei and again you got Monocotyledonei. So under this, supposing I say order Polymoniales. You got order Polymoniales. Then under order Polymoniales, what happens is you have primarily you got Solanaceae. Family Solanaceae you got. Isn't it? You got family Solanaceae under Polymoniales. And similarly, supposing I say order Poales. Under this, you got family Poaceae. Now, Poaceae is also called as Gramineae. It is also called as Poaceae, is also called as family Gramineae. And similarly, what happens is I got primarily under this, you got order Sapindiales. Under this, you got family Anacardiaceae. Under Solanaceae, now if this is the order and this is the family, what happens is here you got Solanum. Solanum, you got Solanum tuberosum is potato, Solanum nigrum, and again you got Solanum melonginum, is brinjal. Nigrum primarily it is tomato. So you got Solanum, then again you got even Petunia, which is an ornamental plant. You got Petunia, which is an ornament, Solanum, and again you got even Petunia, and again you got Datura stramonium. You got Datura. So these are the 3 important sort of genera which are present under family Solanaceae and under Poaceae. Now, supposing I am taking Poales Gramineae, under this what happens is I have Oryza. Oryza sativa is primarily rice. Then I have Triticum. Triticum is basically wheat. Then again we have got Zea maize, which is primarily maize. So Oryza, Triticum and maize belong to family Poaceae. When you take Anacardiaceae, under this what happens is you got primarily you got Mangifera indica. You got Mangifera, then you got Indica, Mangifera. Remember mango. So mango belongs to Anacardiaceae. So here what happens is we are talking about related genera. Remember what is it that I'm trying to tell you is we are dealing with related genera. We are talking about related genera. All these are related genera. Related genera belonging to the same family. We are talking about related genera which belong to the same family. Are you understanding? So they will ask you which are all related, which are all non-related in an objective bit. So you should know how to associate. See, what we are doing is we're only associating words. That's all simple. Entire thing is only word association. That's all. That's very, very important. So now, as you understand, when we are dealing with relation to primarily taxonomical hierarchy, so we are talking about taxonomical hierarchy. So in taxonomical hierarchy, remember that everything is what is called as inclusive. What is the meaning of inclusive? Inclusive, supposing you take a family. Within the family, it includes Solanum, Petunia, and Datura. If you take Poaceae, it includes primarily Oryza, Triticum, and Ziamis. That is called as inclusive. Within the family, it is included. Everything is included. So one very important feature of our taxonomical hierarchy is inclusiveness. Are you understanding? It causes primary inclusiveness. Now, supposing you go to a higher category, you think you're going to a division, you're going to a sort of a class. See, what happens is, what are called as lower categories? Lower categories are everything below the order. What are lower categories? When you take lower categories, lower categories are family, genus, and species are lower categories. Whereas when you take higher categories, they are division, kingdom, class. Division, kingdom, class, and order, primarily are higher categories. So whenever you're talking about higher categories, it is primarily division, kingdom, and class. Order is in between the higher category and the lower categories. Remember that. So when you're going on higher categories, whenever you're in taxonomical hierarchy, when you're looking at the higher categories primarily are more difficult to determine the sort of a relationship. Supposing you're sitting on the top and thinking about kingdom primates, you can't really distinguish between man, orangutan, chimpanzee, and gorilla and monkey there. Only when you come down, only you will know what are the differences. When you come into the order, when you come into the class, then only you know what are the differences. From the top, if you're saying kingdom Animalia, I want to know what is the difference between a spider and a sort of a sparrow. You can't know that. Are you understanding this? So from the level of the kingdom, you can't know the differences. Whereas when you come lower down, what happens is you can exactly know what is meant by differences. So any difficulties on taxonomical hierarchy? Taxonomical hierarchy means primary. Now there are two important things. Again, you're going to primarily be knowing about this. There are two things. One is what is called as taxonomical hierarchy, which we have just now read. And there is something else which is primarily called as biological hierarchy. Now, what do you mean by biological hierarchy? Anybody? In biological hierarchy, what happens? What is at the lowest level? You got atoms. Remember, you primarily have what do you call? You got atoms. Then you got molecules. Then you got cells. Then you got tissues. Then you have organs. Then you have organ systems. Then you have organisms. Next, you got populations. Then you got communities. Then you have ecosystems. And later on, you have primarily, it comes maximum even till the biosphere. Remember. So all these come under biological hierarchy. In biological hierarchy, it starts at the atom level. It starts from here and it goes till the biosphere. Now, this is very important. This is very, very important because it starts, supposing anything less than a cell. Supposing anything is less than a cell, if it is at the molecular level, it is at the subcellular level, atomic level, you will say that life starts at the submicroscopic level. Submicroscopic means below the microscope. Subcellular level, below the cell. Submolecular level, smaller than the molecule, we are talking about the atom. We are talking about the atom. Remember that. Subcellular means smaller than the cell, chloroplast, mitochondria. Submolecular, smaller than the DNA is a nucleotide. Smaller than the nucleotide is a hydrogen bond. Smaller than the hydrogen bond is a carbon bond. So remember, so when they ask you questions on whether it is submicroscopic, subcellular, submolecular, think. They are asking a question on biological hierarchy. Taxonomical hierarchy is different. We are talking about primarily about, we are talking about division, kingdom, class, order, family, genus, and species. This primarily leads to taxonomical hierarchy. Biological hierarchy is a different thing. So, the reason why I told you about biological hierarchy is, whenever you're reading biology, when you read biology, a question which can be asked can be about one single organism at different levels. I can ask you on, supposing I'm asking you a question on photosynthesis. I'll ask you chlorophyll, molecular level. Fine. I'll ask you about the double bond in the nucleotide. I'm asking you at submolecular level. I can ask you about the thylakoids and carotenoids and all that particular things, and also about the stroma, that is subcellular level. I can ask you primarily whether it is a C4 plant or a C3 plant, about bundle sheath chloroplast or mesophyll cell chloroplast. That is at the organismal, at the little bit of the cellular level. Then I can say whether the plant is a C3 plant, C4 plant, or a CEM plant at the organismal level. So questions can be asked about one thing from organism down or from organism up till the biosphere. Organism up to the biosphere is ecology. Organism from down is primarily biotechnology and molecular biology and cell biology. And where all of these meet primarily in terms of, they can all be meeting in terms of even biochemistry. That's why your biochemistry should be good, your cell biology should be good, your molecular biology should be good when you're going down the order on any particular structure or function. And again, you should also know about what is the interrelationship between different sort of organisms. A plant to a plant, species to a plant. Like if you take Drosera, or you take primarily Nepenthes, or you take Pronuba moth, or you're talking about pollination, or you're talking about hydrophytes, xerophytes, mesophytes, communities. Otherwise, you're talking about ecological succession, hydrox succession or xerox succession. So you need to primarily understand from where the questions would be coming in. That is very, very important. Not simply read just for the sake of reading. Your reading means it won't really work. Please remember, at least now I hope in about 2-3 days, you are exactly understanding how to read. Unless I'm teaching a different method of how to look at things. That's very, very important. You got to primarily know how to look through things. That is very, very important. So here when you're taking this is primarily understand that, now what is the basic unit for all of this? When you take a taxonomical hierarchy or when you're talking about binomial nomenclature, basic unit of classification is a species. Remember that. So here what you're going to understand is the species is a basic unit. Is a basic unit of classification. So I'll say species is also called the fundamental unit. It is also called the fundamental unit. Species is the basic unit or the fundamental unit of classification. So whenever you want to classify, you won't classify an order. You won't classify a family. You will classify the particular sort of a species. Remember, we'll only classify the species. We'll take a cluster of species, a group of species, and then we'll be checking on things. So very important here is whenever you're talking about, so we are still primarily we are dealing with relation to what is called as taxonomical hierarchy. We have finished everything. We have finished everything with relation to binomial nomenclature. Any doubts? You're clear on this? Okay. Next, we are going into what is termed as taxonomical category. As taxonomical category. So for all this, what happens is you should have like this flow maps. Then it's easy to primarily know things. What are the differences? So what do you mean by a taxonomical category? When you say a taxonomical category, when you're looking at taxonomical category, it's very easy. You're talking about nothing but a position or a status or a rank. You're talking about the position. You're talking about the position or the status or the rank in a taxonomical hierarchy. In a taxonomical hierarchy. So supposing I'm drawing a diagram, like this is the kingdom, then division, then class, then order, then family, then genus, then species. We are talking about this thing, which is primarily called as taxonomical category. So this is called the taxonomical category. So taxonomical category ante position. Is it a class? Is it an order? Is it a family? Is it a genus? Or is it a species? Or it is a status? Or it is a rank? Or more correctly, supposing you want to correctly scientifically talk it, we are talking about what is called a taxon. We are dealing with relation to what is called a taxon. Any unit is called a taxon. Remember, when you say taxon, it means any unit. That means it could be at the species level, genera level, family level, order level, or maybe at the class level. Anything is called a sort of a taxon. So when you say taxonomical category in a hierarchy classification, how many taxonomical categories we have? We have got 7 natural obligate categories. That is very, very important. We have 7 natural. They are called natural, or they are also called as obligate categories. Obligation and obligate. One categories. Only when you have the categories, then only you can do the things. 7 obligate categories. What are they? Division, kingdom, class, order, family, genus, species, genus and species. So primarily you got 7 obligate categories. Very, very important is the 7 obligate categories you have. So this is a very important thing. All biology, entire biology, how many obligate categories you got? You got primarily 7 obligate categories. Which is the lowest? Species. Which is the highest? Is a kingdom. Remember that. Kingdom and species. Remember, which is the highest? Is the sort of a kingdom, and the lowest is the species. The lowest is a species. So that means very, very important for you to understand is each unit primarily of classification, each unit of classification is also called a category. So when I say category, what does it mean? Each unit, each level, each unit of classification is also called a category. There are different ways of how to ask the question. Category means each unit of classification. Remember that. Each unit of classification is also called a sort of a category. So how do we have? We have got right from, if you take now, what could be the sort of questions which primarily come in? Look, you've got maybe diagrams on taxonomical categories and taxonomical hierarchy. So supposing there is a sort of a diagram. Think there's a diagram. You got primarily, you got kingdom, you got class, you got order, you got family, you got genus, you got species, something like that. They may not give you this. They'll just put blank, and they'll put this particular thing as blank, and they'll ask you what it means in an objective bit. Supposing they may draw the diagram may be drawn ascending, the diagram may be drawn descending, or something could be missing there, something could be missing in a particular sort of a diagram. They can ask you what is right about the diagram, they can ask you what is wrong about the diagram, they can ask you what is missing in that particular sort of a diagram. So you got to remember the diagram, that's very important. A lot of questions come from the diagram. As you go up, what are the characters which happens? As you go down, what are the characters which happen? Max questions, I'm telling you, max questions which can primarily come from taxonomical categories and taxonomical hierarchy are these. So they can ask you the taxonomical hierarchy and the taxonomical categories with relation to maybe something like Mangifera indica, which is there in the sort of a table in your NCERT book. Otherwise, they can ask you on Triticum aestivum, or they can put any other thing belonging to Fabaceae, belonging to Solanaceae, belonging to Liliaceae, or belonging to Brassicaceae. Beyond this, they won't ask. So you got to practice. That is very, very important. You got to practice primarily doing a lot of objective bits based on all these particular sort of things. Now, after finishing taxonomical categories, next we are going to what is called as a sort of a taxon. We are going into what is called a sort of a taxon. Now, when you take a taxon, what is a taxon? It is a formal unit. It is a formal unit of classification. It is a formal unit of classification. Under each step, what does it mean? It means we are talking about each step. Each step technically is called a taxon. Each step is technically called a taxon. So when you take a taxon, what does it mean? It means it's a unit of what classification? Unit of systematic classification. It's a unit of systematic classification. It's called a taxon. There's a definition normally which is accepted. What is meant by a taxon? So that is, it is any unit or any grouping in a taxonomical character, in a taxonomical category. Remember. So when I say taxon, it means any unit. It means any grouping. When I say grouping means not single, remember. We are talking about many species of Triticum. We are speaking of many plants and polymoniales. So we are talking about any grouping or any unit, any cluster. Correctly, it is called as any cluster of living organisms. Any cluster of living organisms, and it is you're talking about any level in taxonomical category. So when we have a taxonomical category, in a taxonomical category, it could be a unit. It is also called grouping. It is also called cluster. It is called as any level in the taxonomical category is primarily called as a sort of a taxon. General name is called as taxon. So when you take taxon, what happens is very, very important here again is it is a distinct biological entity. They are taxon are distinct biological entities. That means what do you mean by biological entities? That is, they can reproduce. Remember this. They can reproduce. They are not morphological aggregates. When I say taxon, it's not I'm putting 10 bricks together. No. I'm putting 10 plants together. I'm putting 10 animals together. I'm putting 10 microbes together which have got life, which show all the life properties. So they are called as distinct biological entities and not morphological aggregates. Not morphological. They are not morphological aggregates. This is a very important thing. Based on this, a lot of questions can primarily come. So whenever you take this you got to understand they are distinct biological entities and they are not simply morphological. There is just not clustering. You're not putting 10 species there. They are not static. They are dynamic. They can reproduce. They can reproduce. So the step is called, what is the step called? The step is called a sort of a category. And on the category, the living organisms are called as taxons. Remember, the living organism is called a taxon. So when I say taxon, you're talking about primarily you're talking about biological entities which are living, which are biological entities which are basically living. So what do they represent? They represent a rank. Again, see here. They represent a rank. So you have a lot of words here. You have a lot of words. What are the words here? They represent a rank. Next, they represent any level. They represent any cluster. They represent any grouping. They represent any unit. And again, they are distinct biological entities. They are distinct biological entities. So you got to remember like this. Otherwise, what will happen is, for one thing, you'll go and write something else. So in the context of taxon, whenever you're reading on taxon, supposing we are reading on taxon, in the context of taxon, we are looking at what is a species. When you're talking about taxon, we are saying what is meant by a species. So a species here, what happens is, I told you it is a basic unit. Remember, it is a basic unit. It is the lowest unit. It is the lowest unit of classification, or you will also call it as a fundamental unit. It is also called the fundamental unit. So lowest, basic, and fundamental unit is always a sort of a species. Remember that. It is a basic unit, fundamental, and also the fundamental unit. So primarily, when you take, like they'll ask you primarily what is called obligate, they'll ask you what is meant by a sort of a taxon. Remember. Now, supposing they say, like, what sort of questions can primarily come in again? Now, when you take till now, like whatever we have been reading is, I've told you regarding binomial nomenclature. I was trying to tell you about taxonomical characters and taxonomical hierarchy and also taxon. They may give you a sort of a plant like rice, like wheat. You got to know all the names of all this. Then maize. Then you got primarily, they can also give sugarcane. They can give you primarily what is called as mustard. Representative types, no? You would take pea plant, Pisum sativum, or else you take primarily, you take tomato, or you take potato, or you take chili, or you take red gram. Please write down this list because we'll have to write all the botanical names of all this. Black gram. You got green gram. You got groundnut. Then again, you also have, for all of these, what happens is, you need to exactly know the botanical names. Basic botanical names of all of these are very, very important. So they can ask you, given the botanical names or given the common names, they'll ask to which order it belongs, to which family it belongs, to which class it belongs. Remember, what happens is we have 3 or 4 very important families. So you should know all the plants which belong to Cruciferae. You should know about all plants which belong to Fabaceae. You should know all plants which belong to Solanaceae. As per your syllabus, all plants which belong to Liliaceae. Maybe you should also know some plants which belong to Gramineae. And maybe you should also know some plants which belong to Malvaceae, which is a very small family. And maybe you should also know about some plants which belong to Compositae. And maybe you should also know some plants which belong to Poaceae. So these are all very important. So these things you got to, Poaceae is Gramineae, sorry. So you got to even know about all these, at least some general names of plants. General names of plants which belonging to all these particular things you should primarily know. At least minimum things you should exactly be knowing about all this. And you should know the family characters. You should also know the family characters. So I think primarily what happens is in the chapter of diversity till now, what all things we have primarily learned. We learned primarily what is diversity, you knew what is meant by nomenclature, you knew what is meant by classification. We have finished identification. And then later on, afterwards, we had also told 1.7 to 1.8 million. And again, in the last class, you had also known what is characterization, what is identification, what is systematics, etc. Then we had come in today's class, primarily we had come with relation to knowing about what is binomial nomenclature, what is taxonomical character, and what is taxonomical hierarchy, and what is taxon. And those particular tables are very, very important. They can ask you a lot of questions on the tables. Diagram-based questions are very, very important in NCERT. Diagram-based questions, primarily from the NCERT book, which is important for NEET examination. So that leaves us with one more class, primarily to finish this particular chapter, which we will be doing tomorrow. That is with relation to taxonomical aids. So when we go on taxonomical aids, we will be primarily knowing what are the differences between all the things. So I have to tell you primarily what is meant by a sort of a herbarium, what is meant by a sort of a key. And again, we should know what is meant by a sort of a, what is a zoo, then what is a museum. Then we're going to even know primarily about certain small things like what is a monograph, what is a manual, what is a monograph, what is a catalog, what are examples of these. And you should also know why, how do you classify things, what are floras, what are important floras primarily. When you got to know, like, okay, if you take Delhi, we got the flora of Delhi. If you take flora of Hyderabad, you got the flora of Hyderabad. You got even the flora of Visakhapatnam. You got the flora of Warangal. You got the flora of Hyderabad and Secunderabad. So we have got a lot of things like what happens in a flora, what is meant by a key. Exactly, it should be even those. I think those particular things will, tomorrow's class will be the last class primarily related to living world. And in case you got any doubts, you got to immediately, you got to make a list and tomorrow ask me anything on the chapter anyway. And also, I forgot, see, you got to also know about what is called the Ernest Mayr. Ernest Mayr, the first was an evolutionary biologist who studied about species diversity and all that. So you should exactly know what is the, here it's given like here singly handled the origin of species diversity. So what do you mean by species diversity? What is meant by, why is equal? What does species diversity indicate, and how that is? He had linked morphology with reproduction, reproduction with evolution, and all the three are related together. That's why you got something called a species diversity. So maybe in the next class we'll begin with learning something on taxonomical aids very, very quickly. Same way. We'll go according to the whiteboard pattern. We'll just see how it goes. Whether you're comfort, huh? Whiteboard is easier for you because I think primarily on a PowerPoint you may get little bit. If needed, we'll go on PowerPoint in case it's very tough. In case it's very tough, supposing a lot of things are there, then we'll go on PowerPoint. Otherwise, we'll try to use even the whiteboard. Only thing is, I'll have to still learn upon which colors are easy here, which is easier for you to understand. Blue and black, all colors. Okay, you're able to see. Whiteboard. But if you're sitting very back, it's very difficult for you to follow, I think. I don't know. Handwriting, should I write it a little bit more bigger? You want? Should I write it like this? No. That'll be like my grandson handwriting. Huh? Okay, okay. So, okay, you're able to see. Okay, okay, fine. I think primarily this is okay. So, how do we stop? Huh? Oh God. Okay. Where is this?